I've been thinking a lot about like a thought experiment. And the thought experiment is this. If you grew up in Sunday school, youth group, how many times have you had a Bible lesson? Like let's say you're 25. And there's a lot of 25-year-olds in church in America and Canada, all over the world, who've been there from the beginning. So let's say they're getting, someone help me with the math, like they're getting 40 out of 52 weeks a year, they're getting some Bible content. And they start recalling stuff from age 5. And so for 20 years, what's 20 times 40? Who does the math on that?
800.
800. So you've got 800 Bible lessons. And you can sit down with a 25-year-old who's had that experience, 800 Bible lessons, and they still feel lost. Like, I was trying to think about why that is. Like, how is that possible? And I think one of the big challenges is you hear verses and stories, David and Goliath, Jesus heals a leper, some verse from Revelation, new heavens, new earth. But you don't know where to place it. Like, not just chronology, but like where do they fit in the story? And it's almost like because somehow we've hoped that a cumulative effect of different Bible lessons that are principle-based will eventually create a mental map for people, they should be able to get it. But because we haven't built a cohesive framework for people to understand the story of God and what the Bible is doing and is trying to do, all those 800 Bible lessons have the effect of like a dozen. And that's just this kind of exercise I'm thinking through. And I think why I've really appreciated what the Bible Project is doing is they have like this statement they keep going back to, and it's this. Tell me if I've got it right. It's one unified story that points to Jesus. One unified story that leads to Jesus. And what's powerful about that is such a simple idea is actually new information for a lot of people who have been in church for 20, 15, 10 years, whatever it might be. So I want to just ask you to tell me a little bit about that idea. Like, what does that mean when they say one unified story that leads to Jesus?
Yeah, so if I could give a metaphor, it's kind of like the Hebrew Bible, what we call the Old Testament in some spaces, has these narratives, poems, prose, all of these literary things that compose the silhouette of an anticipated human. It's like, oh, well, Genesis 3, who's the seed of the woman that's going to come and crush the serpent's head? Is it Cain? Is it Abel? Clearly not. Okay, so then is it Noah? No. Okay, then it talks about, you get to the Abraham stories, and you're like, oh, maybe it's Abraham. And then God is like, actually, through you, I'm going to bless the nations. It's through your people, your seed. Okay, so then who's the seed? It says building upon that creates this mosaic of a silhouette. And then the New Testament authors come along and fill that silhouette and say, it's Jesus of Nazareth.
Wow.
And depending upon, I know this could get controversial, so sorry. But depending upon your church tradition, you might even engage with Second Temple literature, like First, Second Maccabees, what some might call the Apocrypha, some might call the Deuterocanon. You get to see the different mindsets and thoughts within the different streams of Judaism that also contribute to the anticipation of one to come. Oh, is it Judas Maccabeus? It's like, no, not quite. But he is a type of Messiah, but he's not the Christ. So then the New Testament comes, and then we go, oh, it's him. It's the one from Nazareth. And I think the whole point is to say, once we go through the Hebrew Bible, you can start to see the silhouette, but we want to show you how it's actually being filled with the person of Jesus. And you just have to be willing to go on the journey to discover that.